On today's episode, I'm speaking with some of Sydney's fresh and most emerging radio hosts, DJs, event producers, and a community building creative duo. The music they push in clubland is fresh, diverse, mature, sophisticated, and always fun and vibrant. Pretty much sums them up. They produce warehouse parties, club nights, brunches, and a residence with Sydney's Nomad Radio, where their weekly radio show lives. They continue to earn their stripes for Sydney's electronic music scene, although already solidifying themselves as purveyors of voice and contributors to the art and culture as the next generation or Sydney torchbearers. Having supported the likes of Carista, Jitwan, Lauren Hanson, Horatio Luna, and Allysha Joy, this duo represents. Okay, so on today's episode, we'll be discussing the role of community radio in a COVID world, DIY culture in a COVID world, and how to keep your dream alive. Danny and Deepa Honeypoint, welcome to Electronic Music Man. We made it. Hey. Nice to have you girls. Thanks for coming on board. Awesome. I'm so excited that you're here for the show. And I want to learn a little bit about Honeypoint before we get into all the other stuff. How did you the two of you meet?
This is my favorite story. Me and Danny, we both volunteer at another community radio station called FBI Radio. And we met on just some drinks after, I think, FBI's 16th birthday.
And I had just joined FBI. Like Deepa had been there about a year or 2 years already, and I had just become a fresh new presenter at the station. So I had no friends.
Yeah, and we were just celebrating. We went to a bar, and there was this guy sitting in a little booth, and I was like, how dare he take the booth up? So I dragged some random FBI people into the corner to kind of staunch him. And me and Danny ended up being friends with him, but that's how we met as well. Yeah, and so we started talking and realized we were tangential to each other's lives. We were in the same Facebook group called Music, where it was just a bunch of people from Sydney sharing music together, and we realized we had a lot of similar friends, and that's how we started.
Yeah, and we also realized that we had been posting music and commenting on each other's posts, but didn't really realize we were that person.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, and then we both we realized, we deduced that we had the exact same taste in music and felt that it was more of a minority taste of music. And at the time, Deepa was a part of these femme mix nights with three of our friends who were non-cis men, and they would all DJ together in a really beautiful, safe space and support each other's DJing. And I was still a bedroom DJ with no goals or hopes or any foresight to be a DJ. And Deepa, I remember Deepa being we're going to make you a DJ. Come to these nights. I reckon you know exactly what you're doing. Let's help you become the best DJ you can be. So and then we just spent heaps of time doing that together. And then that's how we met.
Great. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess FBI Radio is such a great place, and it still is. I spent a lot of time there myself. That's where I kind of broke my broadcasting world and got into it. I think the role of community radio is just it brings people together in so many ways. And I really enjoyed your set last year with the Electronic Music Conference. I was quite impressed by the I don't like to say the word maturity because it almost sounds boring, but it's I felt that the music palette that you girls were playing was of a mature sound, of people who have known music or understood electronic music for so long. Where did that come from? And you've got a big jazz influence as well. You're for young women DJs that I've not come across many girls that play music like you, or just guys in general as well. So yeah, I haven't heard people at that age. So where did that come from? Is it? Yeah.
I think I can speak for the both of us when I say that our greatest influences for DJing in Sydney and for our selection are people like 82E, Mike Hu, Ben Fester, Lauren Hanson, and like their tastes are all so niche and specific to vinyl selections that I think that's exactly what has influenced our tastes and has really like pushed us to. I think the whole world around vinyl DJing and record collecting, although we aren't really record collectors ourselves or vinyl DJs ourselves, the whole idea of constantly pushing yourself to find the next best gem that maybe no one has heard, which is exactly what like AD and Mike and Lauren do.
Yeah.
Then I think that is exactly what formed our taste. Yeah. And definitely I can speak for myself and say that that's definitely something that I try to do when I'm looking for music, just always looking for the less heard tracks or the more undiscovered tracks. But not in a wanky way, just for a like.
Well, introducing new music, right?
Like, yeah. Like, how can we challenge ourselves as performers? How can we explore new boundaries? How can we empower alternative communities as well? Through our selections and purchases and whatnot.
Yeah. I think for the jazz element, like I feel like Sydney had this big era of jazz adjacent sounds in like 2017, and that's probably like the peak of when I was going out. And so there were all these live music nights, and all the DJs that were coming were like just like some of the Chicago greats, or with the music even that I started DJing with was like Terrence Parker and like Larry Heard. And so if you're starting with music like that, it like the path is almost like clear.
Or like the original house stuff.
Yeah.
As jazz music.
Yes.
I think that probably influenced at least my taste a bit. And we bumped into each other at a lot of gigs, and so realized we overlapped on that as well.
Yeah.
There's a trio in Sydney that they don't really play as much out together anymore, but we put on their launch, Foch, and they're an improv, experimental improv jazz trio. And I think like their sound is so unique and it is so niche and it's so powerful. And I think that for me, that's what started me on like my housey, jazzy tip. Also combined with, I grew up with this girl who's one of my best friends. We've been friends for 17 years. And she's a jazz musician and she's just like incredible.
She played with this. I remember there was this particular gig night that Foch were playing, and they brought on this girl called Ellahaber on. And this is when I didn't know Danny. I had no idea who Danny was. And I was obsessed with the band, obsessed with the singer, and just kind of stalked them until and was going to every single one of their gigs. Met Danny, and then Danny was like, oh yeah, like Ellahaber, my best friend. And I was like, no way, you don't understand. I'm obsessed with this girl. Like she's like changed my perspective on music. And then, that was like a whole thing. And
so I think, to put it simply, like just the very unique influences that we've had in our lives in the jazz realm is what has like led us down that jazz route.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, but was it, well, I mean, it was before the kind of, I guess, the influences from, I guess, these Sydney purveyors. I mean, what about at home as kids? Like, you know, was there a musical influence at home? Did that have?
I love when people answer this question, and I love to answer this question, especially because Deep and I have like the most differing background. My parents are South Africans, so their taste was quite interesting because in South Africa growing up for them, like the 70s and 80s, they didn't actually have a lot of access to a lot of like mainstream stuff. So my dad, both of them were obsessed with Rodriguez. So I had a lot of Rodriguez in my house growing up, and pretty much
he was very popular in South Africa, wasn't he?
So popular, yeah. When Finding Sugar Man came out, like that was like the family film. And still haven't gone to see him with my parents yet, though, which would be really special. It's like on the bucket list. But yeah, him and like, this is so naff, but like Bob Marley. There was a lot of Bob Marley, and my mum has always been into disco and jazz.
Oh, amazing.
So a lot of disco growing up. My mum had like these hot hit disco CDs that now I have in my car, and it's like You can ring my bell. Like, just all of the like key disco tracks. And then I was always just like a hip hop and R&B kid. So I like you could catch me dancing to like before he was a bit problematic. All the Chris Brown and like I don't even know Beyonce. I was a Beyonce baby. So like those are my
Cool.
Mine's so different. So my mum's from Pakistan, my dad's from Bangladesh, and they both listen to a lot of folk music from their hometowns. So it was a lot of that on like cassettes, like not even CDs. But then my mum loved Madonna and loved ABBA, so we'd hear that around the house. And my dad loved country music, so we had Johnny Cash CDs. We had we had a CD full of like 30 artists singing the same song, but it was just different country versions, different singers. So stuff like that's just so random.
That's so insane.
Yeah, so stuff like that. And then my brother was
that's heinous.
My brother was very into like emo and punk, and I was into pop music and also like indie rock. But then all of it mixed together kind of created this like where I could like listen to all genres and not kind of put any aside. I was like, didn't prefer any, but I was able to listen to all of them without really pushing any of them away, which but at your core, you're an indie rock kid. I think so. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's quite a diverse, fundamental sort of palette there. I think like usually I don't really go into this sort of stuff on the show, but I was fascinated by your influences because I just found it really interesting to hear. Because just listening when I heard you guys play when I heard you DJing at that day, I was just like, that's like these girls of like an old soul. Like they've got like this really kind of, broad range of music. And it's like you're playing jams like guys that I know that are 35 plus, and I'm just like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And it's nice to see, a generation playing really good dance music, like because you don't really, I guess I'm where I am. In Dubai, you either hear that kind of sound in very kind of niche sort of places, and I guess that would be the same in Sydney. But I find it
definitely. There's not a lot of people that play the stuff that we play, not in like an arrogant way, but if you wanted to go out and hear the people that we look up to or the kind of mixes that they play, there's really like 2 places in Sydney where you could go, maybe one, unless there's an event on or a couple of events on. Like it is quite a niche thing.
That's kind of the reason why Honey Point started though.
Yeah. And I think also I wanted to make a point that there's definitely something to be said about the new era of music that we've both grown up in. Like streaming services came into our lives at such young ages, and we've just had a multitude of genres and space to explore different sounds from around the world and also in our lives. And then also if you couple that with the political landscapes that we've grown up in through social media, it's interesting to understand how that has shaped our musical tastes and our like musical leanings. I think that in a time before now, it makes sense that it would be considered as like a mature taste, or even now it makes sense that our music's considered as a mature taste because the ideas that we've been exposed to, the services we've been exposed to would traditionally before our time be things that you would only be exposed to at a much later stage in your life.
Tell me a bit about Nomad Radio. I mean, the role. How long have you had the Honey Point show there? And is your show different to your DJ sets in clubs, or is it kind of a combination, like of bringing new music and?
Well, so Nomad, we've been on now officially for a year. We had a 1-year birthday last week, which is very exciting. Woo-hoo! Yeah, so Nomad Radio started off as a online radio station for Sydney underground music. So it's a bunch of Sydney collectives putting a show together. And so we debuted our like collective on Nomad Radio, focusing on jazz and house tangential sounds. But I reckon the show is quite different to what we play in a DJ set. The first hour being music we've found from like Sydney locals or around the world, very much more organically jazz than dance music.
Okay.
And then the second hour we have a guest mix, which is then the dancing side. And we try and, our like aim as a collective is to kind of diversify the representation in the scene. So we book particularly like non-men or people of colour, just to kind of highlight them and showcase what they have, but still within our music range as well. Yeah.
And
it's interesting. Oh, sorry, James. You
No, go on. You finish your thought.
I was going to say it's been really interesting because when we started the show, we definitely weren't jazz DJs. Like we dabbled in the realm of jazz house and house tracks. Like that's where it started. And then through the show, and I've definitely found when I've played out by myself through having like the music from our show in my collection, I've started to incorporate the more jazzy sounds into my set and trying to get creative around that. Yeah. And we both have started to do that. So it's funny. It's been like a bit of a ping pong kind of situation in regards to the songs that we play in our show and then the songs we play in our sets.
Yeah.
I think we've evolved the show and it's evolved us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When we look for music for the show, it's stuff I couldn't ever find by myself. Like if I was looking for just a solo DJ set and looking for the music, I'd never come across the stuff I find the honey point when I'm looking for a show, which is, it's very interesting to see how that happens itself as well. Yeah.
And I mean the role, because I only came across Nomad recently, like from last year, and I was starting to learn more about it, and it seems to be a new fixture in the sort of independent culture of Sydney at the moment, and it's been around for how long? Nomad?
Only a year.
Right. So you've been there. Fantastic. So you've been there from day one, right? So it's just online radio. It doesn't have a frequency.
Online, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well,
like Sydney's answer to Worldwide FM or NTS Radio.
Right. Okay, cool.
That's what it's like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely looks that way. I mean, looking at the website, it looks really like I love the look and feel of it, and I can see that it is very much supporting I guess like a unspoken or unheard of kind of, up and coming people and artists, and I think I guess it's kind of filling a void. It feels like another little gap that's being presented, and so has the Nomad role and the community part there been a pillar for Honey Point? Has it helped get you guys out there and be, it is a platform for your voice and what you're doing?
100%.
Yeah, there's not a lot of venues where me and Danny could play out, and it's very hard to. And I think even to this day, even with all the venues available, it's very hard to say that Honey Point has like a home as a physical venue. And I think in that way, like Nomad Radio is like our home. Mm-hmm. Like we know we'll always have that space, and no matter whether there's all the clubs closed down as they have been slowly in Sydney, we'll have like a space to share music and share people that in line with our vision for music as well.
Definitely.
Just really comfortable.
And it was actually quite serendipitous when it came at such an incredible time. We were actually trying to get a show at FBI Radio. Like we were trying to establish Honey Point, and we said, we need a station. Like we need a hub. That's not a tangible hub. Like we need a place where people can connect us to an identity where we can then form our own identity kind of thing. And we tried to get a show at FBI, and there was just no room on the grid, and they were like, great idea, we love you guys, but like, no, sorry. And then Oscar, who's one of the founders of Nomad Radio, just came to us one day and was like, would you guys like a show? And we just jumped at the opportunity and have never looked back. Because like if Honey Point was to dissolve ever, like if it was to have to go away, I reckon that the show would live on forever. Like it's just so solid. It's got such a beautiful following, which we still are so unaware of, but every now and then we'll get an email from like a booker and he'll say, oh, we love your show. Like, which is wild.
Just like people that come to our events that we've just never heard of or not even in our circles, which is so, every time it happens, it feels so humbling to like see someone that just stands for what we stand for. It's very nice.
And I think the role of Nomad Radio as well, and this might be jumping ahead, but I think the role of Nomad Radio and just community and online radios as a whole at the moment, their role is so much more important now in terms of COVID. Like we don't know when we'll get
it's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Go on, continue.
Maybe I'll stop there.
No, like you're doing fine. Go on, continue.
I just think that I think that now more than ever, like radio is one of the most unifying mediums of music.
Yeah.
Right on, absolutely.
And we live in such weird, isolated times, like COVID aside, you know, just with our whole like insulated living, with iPhones and the me culture and all that. Radio is the one thing and the club, and that's what's so beautiful about like DJing and being part of that community is that it's about community. It's about bringing people together, and we can't really do that right now. And I think like Zoom is great, and like there are Twitch parties and stuff, but it's still so removed. So I think
totally, absolutely.
I think radio has such it's potently important.
Yeah. Like I also have like my own solo show on FBI radio. And even just on the first week of COVID, when all the lockdowns started being put in place, the amount of engagement I had where people were texting in, just like radio was so important during isolation for so many people, because they just like, if you don't have good housemates or you don't have like a comfortable family like home, it's so hard to connect to people, and having that space where someone's talking directly to you and where you can engage via text is so it's so comforting and so important.
And when the radio host like drops a song that you love, or when they speak to you, you're just like, oh, you get me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I this is why I feel very blessed myself because of my background in community radio, because this is what's saved me now. Like when COVID hit, I was able to get, it was stuff in the pipeline. And I guess this is the shows that I've introduced this year. And the work that I'm doing now is online broadcasting with one of the biggest online stations in the region for independent music at the moment. It's called Middle Beast, and so that I feel very blessed and again humbled because of my background. But I guess that for you too, this is kind of like you said, serendipitous. Like there has been a year prior to COVID that you were on Nomad, and then all of a sudden now it's like, wow, lucky we've got Nomad, to get our voice. Are you doing any DIY events at the moment, aside from the online streams, or is it? Yeah.
We were supposed to have a Honey Point first birthday.
We had big plans. We had such big plans for our big birthday party.
Yeah, so that's
where?
All locked away for a belated birthday when things are allowed to be, when we're all allowed to be together. Yeah. But I guess we've been trying to kind of refocus the way we do events or kind of even raise money. There's a lot of we're trying to focus right now on, I guess, proper activism within Honey Point, or like how we can really begin discourse and conversation in the structures of the Sydney community that goes beyond just like parties. Yeah. So whether it's having fundraisers or having a community action project after an event where people have to engage if they want to attend or something like that, we're in the midst of working it out. Yeah.
But other to that, we're really lucky because our music allows for a bit like a brunch format of event. So before COVID lockdown, we actually on the last weekend before lockdown, we had like a brunch event, which involved live music.
How do your brunches work? Is that like, and what's the times and when? When do you usually do
so this was the first brunch, and it's a bit of a phony brunch because it's not actually at the brunch time. To my absolute disappointment.
Was it from 1?
Yeah, it was from like 1 or 2,
1 to
or even
6.
3 maybe. To sundown. Yeah. And the idea of it is that it's on a Sunday afternoon. The idea is just that our music is not for you to get absolutely off your chops too. It's not, the community is not toxic. It's not, which is, I'm not saying, I think those spaces have so much value, but like in Sydney, that just seems to be the space. So it's a space where people can come on that morning after or that afternoon after, have a mimosa, engage with music that might be electronic, but on a live front rather than a DJ front. But then
so it's more of a live gig.
It's a mixture.
So we had 3 DJs total, including us playing at the end, and then a live act as well.
Amazing.
We had it between like a studio space kind of in a garden, and so people just had mimosas in hand.
And where'd you do it at?
At a place called 107 Projects.
Okay.
In Redfern. They're a community space. They do a whole bunch of initiatives there, which I am not completely across, but they're pretty
incredible for like the community in Redfern as a whole.
Yeah. I love it.
Food and croissants.
I love it.
And strawberries.
It's my kind of party.
And the response was unbelievable. Like we didn't even realize it would be as good as it was. And it's a small scale as well. It's like 50 people packs. Like it's
perfect. I love it.
Small vibe. So we've actually been in contact on the low. With a well-known establishment in Sydney, who they're trying to get up and running, and they're quite big in the inner west community. They're like a bit of a staple, a cornerstone. So we're trying to.
This is where I guess it's these kind of events that are going to be the ones that are going to be the new kind of events that are going to emerge again.
I think because they collaborate, or they bring together this whole like sit down, don't dance and bump and grind, but still enjoy it.
Yeah,
I reckon started the big trend of day parties in Sydney over the
summer.
Yeah, we did with the launch that Danny mentioned earlier. It was a launch for Foch, and we had a few DJs and then a big live act at the end, and that was I think the first day party at this kind of new warehouse location. Not new, but like a new
an unused space that typically is used as like a smoking area out the back of this gallery in the inner west.
So we kind of did the place up a little bit, put milk crates everywhere and lots of nice lighting, and then that kind of started just the concept of day parties in Sydney, which I think was super formative for the summer, especially at the end of all the bushfires. We had a big daytime dance with all the collective that had thrown parties after us in the space, and all doing it to raise money for the bushfires, which is
amazing.
Nice, wholesome summer.
Yeah. So I think we're really fortunate to be able to like slip into that format really.
I would say it's definitely nice to see, and there's more of it. People putting on events with more of a purpose and like that kind of, because it is definitely a shift in the culture. Rather than just like, appreciating electronic music as well. It always had the stigma of just getting off your chops, but now like you can appreciate electronic music and organic live stuff. I'm a big advocate personally of the whole live and DJ experience. I've always have been. I think the two worlds should always be together. There's nothing wrong with, between a band sets, a DJ gets on and that kind of fills in not just a filler, but they're actually tying in this story, this whole experience. Rather than putting the DJ on the far left-hand corner of the stage, it's like, no, the DJ's got to be part of this whole experience. And and I've seen that more and more. Is all this stuff that you're talking about now, like what you're doing now to kind of keep the dream alive and keep Honey Point in the eyes and ears of Sydney, what aside from your radio show, what are other things that you're doing at the moment? Is there because it is? I know it's limiting, but like what?
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I think lockdown hit like everyone really hard, and especially in Sydney, like the whole scene obviously just went really silent. And like personally, I know that I felt just very like, whoa, what is my future? What is my life? What is Honey Point? What is DJing? What is music? Like I had a real moment of just reevaluating everything. And not even just music, also my own like personal career and stuff, like just reevaluating everything. And in that, I think that was important because in that time, Deepa and I had a lot of chats and meetings about where to from here. So instead of just acting straight away, and I think also there was an air of like, especially at the start of lockdown, there was this air of how can we innovate immediately? Like all of our spaces are gone. How can we take this online and innovate? And a part of me kind of felt terrified by that idea. I felt a pressure for Honey Point to be the drivers of this new innovation of whatever it might be, of this new virtual world of DJing. And then I think after a while I decided that we don't actually, like, Honey Point has such a community and it has a real place in the community. It's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. People have not forgotten about us. Like, this is a really beautiful time to...
We just sat back and kind of just watched what happened whilst still talking about
where we're going to go.
Where we're going to go, and say if we did try something, how would it look? Like, we definitely had talks about doing live streams and we figured Zoom parties and stuff, and we just couldn't see that for ourselves. So we just were like, okay, no, let's sit back down again. Let's workshop a bit more. What's the next thing we can do? Or once this is over, say, could we have a party with 10 people? Or like just trying to innovate post-COVID, or even just like slightly loosed COVID. And I guess we're still in the process of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though...
And I think another thing as well, and this was a big reminder for us, and we kind of touched on this like earlier a little bit, about how Honey Point is so much more, and we've learned now that Honey Point is actually so much more than just a party duo. Like, we want to see change in Sydney.
Yeah,
and our community realizes that. We're not going to fizzle away because we were known for putting on like massive events with internationals flying in and just making ticket sales and profits. Again, nothing wrong with that, but that's not who we are. That's not what we do. And people know what we do. So there's, like I was saying, there's a place for that. There's a space for that.
Yeah.
People want it. We want it. They're not going to forget about us. Like, we'll make sure they don't forget about us.
No, but you know what's great? The right now, more than ever, and I think people need us DJs. You know, people. You know, we're providing, and it made me realize myself, like, my role in my community as well, and the people that what else I could be doing to enhance people's lives during this period. I mean, doing what we do and playing the music that we find and sharing our vibe and that love that we still have for that new record that we found, and like that passion that comes still, that still helps enhance people's lives, you know, and I think what you're doing is great. Keep doing it. And I love it. Like, so what's next? Tell me what's coming up next for Honey Point.
Well, we're trying to do a little bit of a fundraiser, a little live stream fundraiser at one of our favorite distilleries.
What we were saying before,
yeah. So we're just working on getting that off the ground.
And that's a small event as well.
It'll be like the brunch format. It'll be like the Honey Point X, this establishment.
Yeah. Having a few
brunch.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be like, I think, like 50 packs again, or maybe even less than, just based on whatever COVID is allowing. And then we want to live stream it as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Kind of thing.
In front of an audience. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have all the DJs collectively decide on an organisation or charity to support.
Do you have a band in mind yet? Do you have a band in mind for this one?
We have not. No live. Well, actually, kind of. There's one act who we've been trying to book for a really long time. And he's actually one of the 3 from Foch. His name's Ziggy. And he has this like insane live act called Blauhaus.
I love it.
And he's just like, honestly, he is the most talented keys synth player I know. And he's made just this insane synthy, housey stuff.
Oh, like you gotta share this with me.
Well, he hasn't like released anything, but he's been doing Thursday nights with Blauhaus in lockdown. He did like a month of like Thursday night live streams with him and all his synths. And he's just, so before lockdown, he was still working on getting it off the ground. And then I think lockdown came and we just like got it off the ground. So maybe this is the time
to launch
the Blauhaus. Yeah. Which would be really exciting. But
we have some Honey Point staples, which we love booking. We've got Eddie Diamond, Boccaccini, we've got Hype, we've got Ava Tonye, Kiminza.
Oh, great. Cool.
Yeah, we've got a whole list of names, which we want to have more events just so we can book all of them and kind of showcase them to everyone.
Yeah.
So it's
that
just
platform again.
Yeah, just about waiting for that opportunity to showcase them.
Yeah. And then aside from the gigs, like we've been discussing a mix series. We haven't really wrapped our head around this yet, but incorporating like, because all DJs are DJs, but all DJs also, they always have a side hustle, or DJing is their side hustle. Like there's something else that helps you, keep the food on the table or keep your heart alive in other ways. And I love the idea of, and I actually got this from Megatronic when we met Megatronic for the first time, this idea of not just empowering those communities in music, but empowering, communities of color and non-cis male communities in all fields around the world. So this idea of creating a mix series, a DJ creates a mix, somehow selling the tracks, like, and giving money back to the artists of the tracks that they include in their mix, but then also somehow contributing the funds to like a cause that is related to another passion of theirs. So it might be like design or law or medicine or who knows.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's another idea that we're just workshopping.
Fantastic. Well, tell me what days can people hear Nomad Radio on your show? What days of the week?
On Nomad Radio Sundays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
But there's also a backlog of shows that you can listen to all on the website.
Awesome.
Nomad
Mixcloud.
Mixcloud as well,
or
SoundCloud.
Got it.
All the links. Yeah.
Awesome.
And all of our guest mixes are up on our SoundCloud, Honey Point.
The Honey Point mixes are the mixes and the shows, the archive of the shows go on the SoundCloud.
Well, yeah.
Okay, cool. Just quickly as well, what's your connection with the Planet Trip Records? I've seen that emerge over last year, and I really like what these guys are doing. And I think I saw you, Danny. We were at the same party last year with. The one in Marrickville when I was in town.
So that space was the space that we were talking about. That
Got
like
it.
Point.
Okay. That's a really cool spot. It's a really cool spot. Yeah.
Mothership, yeah.
No residents.
Planet Trip though is a city imprint run by Mike Hu.
Yes.
And Daniel.
Yeah.
And Daniel Lupica.
Oh, cool. Okay, right. I didn't know Daniel was behind that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so
I love those boys. Those boys are great. They do great stuff.
Yeah, and they've just been so supportive of Honey.
They're our DJ. We call them our DJ dads.
Yeah.
They DJ uncles.
DJ uncles.
So we brought Carista over with them. And
right. So you guys were part of that. You made the Carista. Amazing. I've been trying to. I was very close to doing a tour with Carista here in the region, and we couldn't quite make it happen. I had a club in Beirut ready to go, and we had it almost here for Dubai, but it just didn't line up. And when I love Carista. She's fantastic.
I really hope it works out for you. She is a powerhouse.
Yeah, man.
And her energy is like, she's just one of those people that you'll forever remember them. Their energy just like it leaves an imprint in your mind.
Yeah.
Mike, who has like, he's kind of the reason why Honey Point gets booked and why Honey Point exists. Like, he just saw what we were into from the start and just put us up. Mike
Mike's an amazing DJ. Great.
He's an individual.
And his music knowledge is incredible.
Incredible. Yeah, and something he does that I respect so much is that he just wants to see that he's a community man, and he just wants the community to thrive. So he wants to sit with you and share everything he knows, because he wants to hand over to the younger generation. To just not, he doesn't want the scene to die. And it'll never die, but he just wants it to keep going and keep going strong, and just support because he's into what you're doing.
He's just like, questions, ask me. If you want to bring an artist over, let me know. I can help you out. Just like with everything. He's just so helpful and so supportive. It makes
that's awesome.
Makes what we do very, very much easier.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I noticed that Mike's working over at FBI as well, a bit more with a role there. Been meaning to get in touch with him because I need to update my details with FBI. So I got to reach out to him because no one got back to me on mine. So I think I'm going to get Mike to help me. So where can everybody see like your links? I've got, there's Facebook, Instagram. What they just type in Honey Point. That's it. Just looking at it. Yeah.
On Facebook, if you look up Hey Honey Point or just Honey Point, I'm pretty sure we're the first ones to pop up. Or on Instagram, if you look up Hey Honey Point, we've got a link tree that has all the links between all the things: Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Nomad Radio, individual pages as well.
Is the link tree on Instagram?
It's on Instagram. Yeah.
So on Instagram, Hey Honey Point, and then the link tree is like in our bio.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Fantastic. All right, girls. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really great to just catch up with you as well and talk. And look, for anyone listening and wants to reach out to me, you can hit me up on info@jameslocksmith.net if you want to talk things music. Or even want to learn a bit about personal development, I can point you in the right direction. Anything that music related as well. So, and that if you want to sign up to the newsletter, it's jameslocksmith.net website, www.jameslocksmith.net. And please leave a review. I'd love to hear from you. Leave your thoughts, your feedback. Let me know how I can improve the show. Awesome. Thank you, Honey Point.
Thanks, James.
Bye-bye.
Bye.